One thing I have always loved about Tarkov's intrinsically complex weapon modding system is how sometimes you can discover interesting interactions between certain attachments, whether it's intentional or not. Many years ago, there was a bug where you could attach both a PSO and a REAP IR thermal to an AK and have the thermal optic come out of the PSO scope, which was interesting but not very practical because you needed a thermal in order to do this trick, and it was quickly patched out once it was discovered. Earlier this wipe, we had bugged M4s that could attach both the jailbreak attachment on a quad rail as well as a suppressor for disgustingly low recoil. And while the ability to put both attachments on has been removed, there are some of those M4s still floating around in the world of Tarkov, even to this day. So coming across one is like coming across a little time capsule of something once lost. But recently, by complete accident, I learned a fun little interaction between the PSO scopes for the AKs and those upgradable little yellow iron sight attachments that are in the game. This isn't going to be a super long one, but let's just go over it quickly. To explain what this is, it's basically the ability to switch off a PSO scope on an AK and toggle over to the iron sights, which is normally not possible. And while its actual usefulness and effectiveness are not as high as you were just adding a canted red dot onto the weapon, for budget purposes or even post-wipe purposes, this could be an interesting combination for people doing maybe Punisher Part 1 especially, or just have an AK laying around and want a little extra flexibility. Now, to preface this early on, while this combo works with almost every AK in the game, it really only works with the AKMN. And the reason why is that none of the 545 AKs do a decent job with clearance, and your visibility is even worse than when you use it on a 7.62 AK. And here's a comparison of the AKMN and a standard AK-74N. You can very easily see the difference, and I think it boils down to how the dovetail on the AKMN is set on the weapon when compared to the 74N. It sticks farther out and potentially a little higher on the gun, which makes the PSO rest higher on the AKMN, meaning your viewing is much higher and you can actually see what you're doing. So again, while most AKs can attach both of these optics and use this combo, you won't be able to see anything unless you're using specifically any of the 7.62 AKs. While this really limits this cool feature to a handful of rifles, it's still interesting and surprisingly effective. Is it the best? Of course not. Is it still interesting? Yeah, totally. And is it still serviceable? Absolutely. PSO scopes kind of get a bad rep in the world of Tarkov, but I personally really enjoy using them. They're simple, they're a clean 4x scope that doesn't require any additional attachments. You just have to have an AK with a dovetail mount and you're good to go. The scope being pretty much in your face might get you killed every once in a while when you're using the iron sights, but the recoil, at least on a semi-modded AK, isn't that bad, and you have enough of your screen not obstructed by the PSO to still be lethal against Scav and PMC alike. Now, I only tested this on an AK with decent attachments. To take a base AK and attempt to do this combo might prove a little bit more problematic with recoil taking your sights to the sky. But in single fire with some solid trigger discipline, I don't see why this wouldn't be effective even with a base AK. But this combo is simple, it's cheap, and can be done from level 2 traders. Sadly, the yellow iron sight attachments for the backup iron sights are behind proper level 2, but level 15 isn't too bad to be using this setup still. I would love to see more weapons and optics switch off to their respective iron sights in Tarkov. The PU Mosin is another example of this. In games like DayZ, you can have a Mosin with a PU scope and switch to the iron sights, and not only does it work, but you have so much of your screen not obstructed by the optic itself because it rests so high on the weapon. These kinds of interactions in games just add another layer that is unlike a lot of shooters out there. Now, to be fair, some of them are adding these kinds of mechanics for optics, which is always appreciated, but the more we can get into Tarkov and having them make sense, the better for everyone. Either way, this is just a quick little video about something that has been in the game for probably some time if I had to guess, but that I only found out about recently. And since we know the next wipe is in August, this could be something you should consider if you want to run a Dovetail 7.62 AK on a budget. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. If you know of any other interesting interactions with attachments in Tarkov and would like to share them, please feel free down in the comments and subscribe for more videos about discovering cool stuff in Tarkov. I hope to see you in future ones.